I do not wish to make a presumptuous pronouncement, but I'm not sure that it can be avoided if I open my mouth. Better for you, perhaps, to see if you can find truth and beauty within yourself, or perhaps out underneath the stars above at night. When I step outside in the wee hours of the morning, often there is no genuine silence. The world seems to hum. It sounds a lot like my refrigerator. I have thought about trying to find the source of what to me seems like dull noise. In the absence of many of the noises of the day, often I still hear a siren moving through the night. This humming intrudes into the sense of clarity that I seek. I suppose if I could find the source of the noise, I would just follow my ears. After all, few people would be willing to get up out of their beds to try and stop me. I would just pull the plug. But something almost surely would go bad, so I don't. I am just imagining that I am telling a story here and reading a poem that reveals truth and beauty to me. YouTube has kindly agreed to store this recording on their servers and make it available to anyone who wants to listen for a click. It seems reasonable. How they make a buck out of it is their business. Time and not money is the value at stake here, but never mind. Late last summer, I walked into the Social Service League. I was on my way to the river, a walk I take nearly every day. The thrift store was in a temporary quarters across the street from the Douglas County Courthouse. I'm not saying that I discovered a miracle in that cluttered and cold, dimly lit, nearly abandoned warehouse space. It's too soon to tell. But I might have found part of the great mystery of the universe. On the shelves at the Social Service League, among all the twiddle and all the other odd stuff, was a blue pitcher. The color and the very pleasing round shape appealed to me. I held it in my hands. The ceramic was smooth and cool to my palms. There was a chip or two and some apparently negligible cracking, but I wanted the pitcher. It was in a thrift store anyway. I then browsed the poetry section of the used books. On the top shelf, I saw a pale green copy of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland and Other Poems. I had this very book at home. The black and white, slightly enigmatic picture of Eliot, his chin resting on his hands folded over a cane on the cover. I suppose it might have been an umbrella. The photo was cut off below his tweedy elbows. Maybe the book could be a gift. At the counter they asked for, and I paid $2. I didn't get a receipt, so I don't know how much for the cracked blue pitcher and how much for the poems I already had on my bookshelves. I carried the pitcher and the book with me as I walked. I had slipped my digital camera into my pocket before leaving the house, and I posed the objects among the petunias in the planter boxes along Mass Street and in other places. If time is the preeminent value we are talking about here, I had gotten my money's worth before I even got back home. I cleaned up the pitcher a little and filled it with water. When I came back some time later, the pitcher was empty and the counter was all wet. To me, it was clear why someone had donated the pitcher to the Social Service League. It didn't hold water. Still, it was a beautiful object. I was happy to have it. I placed it around in several different places in my yard. Finally, I put it into my little garden pond after the ice from the winter had melted. It seemed suited to its element. Occasionally, the wind would rock it enough so that water spilled into its mouth, and it would fill and sink to the bottom. Easy enough to reach. Eliot, on the other hand, was confusing me some. I carried the thin little paperback with me now and then. I could hardly make any sense of The Wasteland, though some individual lines would make me laugh. But the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock continues increasingly to bring satisfaction to my soul. I don't particularly mean anything much by that word soul. I just don't have a better one handy. I don't think I'm especially religious anymore, but since things mean something to me, even if only apparently, I suppose I might have some sense of the sacred somewhere in me. I had a philosophy professor once tell me that it was difficult to tell the difference between the voice of God and indigestion. I know that I cannot. But Prufrock gets to me. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go. Well, Eliot goes on for several more pages. I think that he is talking about time. He used the word time directly any number of times. I first read this poem several years ago, before I got married even, and that was half a lifetime ago. 30 years, if you're counting. One night, I don't know how all of this happened, I read the entire poem out loud on the telephone to a friend of mine who is completely blind. I could hear her breathing in my ear. It turns out I have never read that poem better than when she was listening. Of course, I have read it silently and out loud for myself, and also for a few others, both in fragments or whole sometime since. And now I would like to share Mr. Eliot's poem with you. If it doesn't mean anything to you, if you don't enjoy the sounds of the words and my voice, I'm sorry. Or maybe it was my story that soured you. But time is what can never be recovered. But if, and I trust you, if there is any stirring in your soul as you listen to me read, go to the Social Service League or find a street performer and give them something for their time and stuff. You don't have to tell them that Prufrock sent you, but gratitude should be paid. The universe is a vast and random place, but not without some personality. You and I are part of the universe after all. And I, of course, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I think that I enjoy reading Prufrock more if someone, even if I'm only imagining you, is listening. Some mystery is involved. So now, Cracked Blue Picture Productions presents The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent, to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licks its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains, let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was a soft October night, curled once about the house and fell asleep. And indeed there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. Time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions, and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare, and do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair, with a bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say, how his hair is growing thin. My morning coat, my collar mounting to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions which a minute will reverse. For I have known them all already, known them all. Have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the voices dying with a dying fall beneath the music from a farther room. So how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, known them all. The eyes that fix you in a formulated phrase. And when I am formulated, sprawling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out all the butt ends of my days and ways, and how should I presume? And I have known the arms already, known them all. Arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight downed with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap around a shawl, and should I then presume? And how should I begin? Shall I say, I have gone at dusk through narrow streets and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows? I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. And the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired, or it malingers. Stretched on the floor, here beside you and me, should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moment to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head, grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here's no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker, and in short I was afraid. And would it have been worth it after all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea, among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me? Would it have been worth while to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it toward some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all. If one, settling a pillow by her head, should say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all. And would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worthwhile? After the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and this and so much more? It is impossible to say just what I mean. But as if a magic lantern threw the nerves in patterns on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if one, settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl, and turning toward the window should say, "That is not it at all. That is not what I meant at all. No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. Am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince, no doubt an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious, and meticulous, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse. At times, indeed, almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool. I grow old, I grow old. I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing, each to each. I do not think that they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back, when the wind blows the water white and black. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea by sea-girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us and we drown.